Part 1. The Golden Cage. Have you ever stopped to consider why so many people who make it in life still feel a deep sense of dissatisfaction? Why is it that even those who achieve the financial success we're taught to admire often end up feeling empty, directionless, or anxious? There's a reason for this, and it's not just personal. It's a philosophical and psychological illusion we've all been fed. This lie is so subtle, so deeply embedded in our culture, that most of us never question it. But today you will. This lie is simple but powerful, that money is the ultimate key to happiness. From the time we're children, we're taught that success equals wealth, and that wealth equals worth. It's never stated so directly, but look around. How often do we measure a person's value by their job title, their home, their car, or their income? We're conditioned to see money not as a tool, but as a destination. And just like a mirage in the desert, the closer we get, the more it fades away.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound insights.
Let me take you to ancient Rome. Imagine a man who had everything: power, riches, influence. Marcus Aurelius, emperor of the Roman Empire, could have anything he desired. Yet in the quiet solitude of his chambers, he wrote words that still shake the foundations of modern life. Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking. He had seen the truth firsthand, that the deepest joy is not found in what we accumulate, but in how we perceive the world. Ask yourself this: if you woke up tomorrow with everything you ever wanted, millions of dollars, limitless luxury, global admiration, how long would you feel fulfilled? A month? A year? What comes after the dream is fulfilled? This is the dilemma no one talks about. The finish line keeps moving because the desire was never rooted in truth, it was rooted in illusion. When we make money our master, we become its servant. We trade our freedom for security, our passion for predictability, and our values for validation. We begin to see ourselves not as human beings with purpose, but as units of productivity. The soul, the very essence of who we are, gets pushed aside in the name of getting ahead. And this is the golden cage, beautiful on the outside, but hollow on the inside. Marcus Aurelius warned against this trap. He said, "The things you think about determine the quality of your mind. Your soul takes on the color of your thoughts. If your thoughts are consumed by money, status, and comparison, what kind of soul are you cultivating?" This isn't just poetic, it's psychological. What we focus on shapes who we become. So why do we chase money so desperately? Is it survival? For most of us in modern society, no. It's not about food or shelter, it's about identity. We believe money will finally make us somebody, someone worthy of love, respect, and admiration. But when our identity is tied to what we have, we lose sight of who we are. Carl Jung once said, "People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own souls." Money becomes the perfect distraction. It allows us to stay busy, to stay admired, to stay externally successful, all while avoiding the deeper work of becoming whole. And the tragedy? The more we chase it, the further we drift from ourselves. Let's pause and reflect. Who are you without your job, your paycheck, your possessions? Strip away the labels, the titles, the roles. What remains? If that question makes you uncomfortable, that's okay. It means you're waking up. In a world obsessed with wealth, it is revolutionary to seek wisdom. It takes courage to say, I want to live a meaningful life, not just a financially successful one. But here's the secret. The people who live with the most depth, peace, and purpose are not the wealthiest. They are the ones who understand that fulfillment is an inside job, that no amount of money can buy inner stillness. Marcus understood that deeply. Amidst wars, politics, and personal loss, he returned again and again to the same truths. He didn't write about how to gain more riches. He wrote about how to live well. The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts, he said. Notice he didn't say it depends on your salary, your investments, or your inheritance. So what are the quality of your thoughts about money? Are they rooted in fear, in lack, in insecurity? Or are they grounded in freedom, clarity, and intention? Until we examine the why behind our desire for money, we will always be its prisoner. Think about this. We live in the most materially abundant society in history. We have access to more wealth, technology, and opportunity than emperors like Marcus could imagine. And yet, anxiety, depression, and burnout are at record highs. Why? Because we've confused material abundance with spiritual fulfillment. We've made a dangerous substitution. We've replaced purpose with performance, presence with productivity, and meaning with money. But the soul cannot be bought, and when we try to purchase it, we end up bankrupt in the ways that matter most. The Stoics had a word for peace of mind, ataraxia, a state of serene calmness. They knew it didn't come from riches, but from alignment, living in accordance with truth and virtue. When your inner world is in harmony, the outer world loses its power to disturb you. That's the real treasure. That's what we've forgotten. If I offered you $1 billion but told you that you'd never feel peace again, would you take it? To be honest, most people would say yes without realizing what they're giving up. And that's the core of the lie, that money can replace what can only be earned through self-awareness. We've been sold an illusion, and it's time to reclaim our clarity, not by rejecting money, but by seeing it for what it truly is, a tool, not a trophy. Something to serve you, not something to worship. Because if you don't master your relationship with money, it will master you. The truth is, money reveals who you already are. If you're lost, it will amplify your confusion. If you're grounded, it will expand your possibilities. But the real work is becoming the kind of person who doesn't need money to know their worth. Why do we fear not having money? It's not just about survival, it's about shame. We fear being judged, ignored, forgotten. We fear being less than in a world obsessed with more. And so we chase money, hoping it will shield us from that fear. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment." What if you revoked your belief that money determines your value? What would open up for you? What possibilities would become visible? This is not a rejection of ambition. It's a redirection of it toward something deeper, truer, more lasting. Because money can give you options, but only inner mastery gives you freedom. And freedom, the kind that no one can take from you, is the only wealth that never fades. Part 2. The Inner Empire. Imagine for a moment that everything you've ever been taught about success was upside down. That the very thing you were told to chase money is not the source of power, but a shadow of it. What if true power lies not in accumulating wealth, but in mastering your own mind? This is not a fantasy. It's a philosophy, a deep, ancient one. And Marcus Aurelius lived it every single day. He ruled the greatest empire on earth, yet never let the throne rule him. That's not just discipline, that's inner sovereignty. While others were consumed with expansion, Marcus focused on contraction, shrinking the ego, diminishing desire, and simplifying existence. He saw clearly that the real empire is not Rome. It's the self. And if you don't rule that empire, you'll become a slave, no matter your salary or status. Let me ask you something that might change your life. What do you think you'd feel if you suddenly lost everything? Your money, your position, your possessions. Would you still feel valuable? Would you still feel whole? If the answer is no, then money has become your mirror, and you've stopped seeing your true reflection. In Meditations, Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That single sentence dismantles the entire lie. We've been trained to seek strength in external things: money, titles, praise. But the Stoics remind us that the only thing we ever truly own is our response, our perception, our inner state. Now think about modern life. We're bombarded with images of success: mansions, luxury vacations, private jets. Social media has turned comparison into a full-time job. And what do? We scroll and scroll, slowly draining our self-worth, believing that we're falling behind. But behind what? A race we never agreed to run. A standard we never consciously set. This is why Marcus's teachings are more relevant now than ever. He lived in an empire of extravagance, but sought simplicity. He had every reason to indulge, but he chose restraint. Why? Because he saw that indulgence often leads to dependence. And dependence, for a philosopher, is the death of freedom. We must ask ourselves, are we using money to create freedom, or are we using it to decorate our prisons? It's a painful question, but a necessary one. Because the truth is, many of us are financially successful and spiritually bankrupt. We've built beautiful cages and called them lives. But true life begins when we stop living for appearances and start living for alignment. Psychologically, this is profound. Viktor Frankl, Holocaust survivor and psychiatrist, said, "When a person can't find a deep sense of meaning, they distract themselves with pleasure. Money becomes our ultimate distraction. It gives us short-term highs: the new car, the bigger house, but never satisfies the deeper hunger for purpose. And so we stay hungry." So how do we break the cycle? First, by recognizing that money is not evil. It's neutral. Like fire, it can warm or burn. It's our relationship with it that determines the outcome. When money becomes a servant, it empowers. When it becomes a master, it enslaves. And most people, they've unknowingly handed over the keys. Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself of mortality. You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do, say, and think. Imagine how different your choices would be if you lived with that awareness. Would you still chase things that don't matter? Would you still let your self-worth swing with your net worth? This awareness of death, which the Stoics called memento mori, is not morbid, it's liberating. It cuts through the illusion of permanence and forces you to see what truly matters. When you realize that you could die tomorrow, you stop chasing what doesn't nourish your soul. You start asking, what is worth living and dying for? Now let's talk about fear, because behind the chase for money is a deep, unspoken fear, the fear of not being enough. That fear drives us to overwork, to overconsume, to overcompensate. But fear, when it's not examined, becomes a dictator. And no amount of money can silence a dictator that lives inside your head. So what do we do with that fear? We face it. We name it. We realize that fear loses its power when it's brought into the light. Marcus didn't avoid fear, he dissected it. He observed it like a scientist, reminding himself that most fears are projections, not realities. And when you truly understand that, fear begins to shrink. Here's an exercise. Write down what you're afraid would happen if you lost your wealth. Would people stop respecting you? Would you feel ashamed? Would you disappear? Then ask yourself, is that fear based on truth or on a story you've been told? Often the story is the lie, and the truth is far less terrifying. Let's return to the lie. The lie isn't just that money will make you happy. The deeper lie is that money is the only form of wealth. But what about emotional wealth, spiritual wealth, relationship wealth? How rich are you in presence, in wisdom, in love? Those currencies can't be deposited in a bank, but they are the foundation of a meaningful life. Marcus Aurelius said, "A man's worth is no greater than the worth of his ambitions." What are your ambitions? Are they rooted in ego or in essence? Do you dream of money because you think it will prove something? Or do you dream of becoming someone who doesn't need proving? There's a moment in every inner journey where you must choose what kind of wealth you want to pursue. One path is paved with numbers, accolades, and applause. The other is paved with silence, truth, and inner peace. The first path is loud but hollow. The second is quiet but alive. Which one are you really on? And the paradox. When you choose the quiet path, the external often follows. Why? Because people are drawn to those who are deeply aligned. You become magnetic not because you're chasing money, but because you're radiating clarity. And clarity in a chaotic world is priceless. Let me offer you a radical idea: redefine success. Not as the accumulation of things, but as the alignment of your soul. Not as how much you earn, but how deeply you live. Not as how far you climb, but how rooted you are. This redefinition is not just philosophical, it's revolutionary. Because when you change your definition of success, you change the entire direction of your life. You stop running. You start becoming. You stop proving. You start expressing. And in that shift lies the end of suffering. There is a kind of man or woman who walks into a room and doesn't need to speak to be heard. They radiate calm, presence, integrity. That kind of presence cannot be bought. It is earned through self-inquiry, discipline, and the courage to live by values rather than validation. Marcus Aurelius was that kind of man. And he left us a blueprint, not for how to get rich, but for how to be rich. Rich in character, rich in thought, rich in the substance that outlasts time. So here's the challenge. Don't just think about how to make money. Think about how to make meaning. Don't just chase success. Seek significance. Don't just accumulate. Awaken. Because when your soul is awake, the lie loses its grip. And here's the final truth of this chapter. The world doesn't need more millionaires. It needs more masters of themselves. Because these are the people who not only transform their lives, but transform the world. Part 3. The wealth that cannot be taken. What if the richest person in the room isn't the one with the biggest bank account, but the one with the calmest mind? What if wealth isn't measured by what you own, but by what you can live without? These questions aren't meant to shame or scold, they're meant to awaken. Because somewhere deep down, you already know that money alone isn't enough. You felt it in quiet moments, in lonely celebrations, in the emptiness that sometimes follows a win. Marcus Aurelius taught us that the true battle is not fought in markets or boardrooms, but within. He wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." So ask yourself, what color is your soul right now? Is it tainted by greed, anxiety, or envy? Or does it reflect clarity, gratitude, and peace? Money is loud. It speaks in numbers, in headlines, in brands. But wisdom is quiet. It whispers when you are still, when you listen. And in that silence, you realize something profound. The things that truly make life beautiful, love, purpose, courage, serenity, are all free. Yet we often neglect them while chasing what we've been told will finally make us whole. This is not an argument against money. It's an argument for proportion, for balance, for remembering that money is just one slice of the human experience, not the whole pie. When we inflate its importance, everything else gets distorted. We forget how to be present. We forget how to love without agenda. We forget how to live without rushing. Let's talk about enough. One of the most dangerous ideas in modern life is that there's never enough. No matter how much you earn, someone's earning more. No matter how much you achieve, someone's achieving faster. And so we run and run and run, never questioning the treadmill itself. But Marcus Aurelius reminds us, if you seek tranquility, do less. Or more precisely, do what's essential. So what's essential to you? Strip away what you've been told. Strip away the noise. What remains? That's the foundation of your real wealth. Because the person who knows what is essential is the person who cannot be manipulated by false desires. They cannot be sold something they do not need. And in that lies unimaginable power. Let's go even deeper. The psychology of money is often driven by trauma, by feelings of lack, abandonment, unworthiness. We chase money not just for comfort, but to soothe the wounds we haven't dared to look at. But here's the brutal truth. No external success can heal an internal wound. That healing starts with honesty, with reflection, with the courage to sit with your pain rather than distract from it. This is where philosophy meets therapy. Modern psychology echoes Stoic wisdom. Both teach us that fulfillment doesn't come from what we get, but from how we relate to what we already have. Gratitude isn't just a feel-good practice, it's a radical shift in perception. It turns scarcity into sufficiency. It turns chaos into coherence. Ask yourself this: when was the last time you truly felt grateful, not just for something big, but for something simple? A deep breath, a real conversation, a moment of stillness. These are the experiences that rise in value the longer you live. And yet, they cost nothing. How ironic that the most precious things in life are the ones we overlook in our pursuit of the least important. Marcus Aurelius lived surrounded by unimaginable wealth. And yet, in every page of Meditations, he reminds himself and us that life is fleeting, that possessions fade, that reputations vanish, but character endures, integrity endures, the soul endures. He wrote, "Think of yourself as dead. You have lived your life. Now, take what's left and live it properly." This is not a morbid thought. It's a wake-up call. It's a challenge to stop delaying your real life for some future moment when you'll finally have enough. Because the truth is, the future is a fantasy. All you have is now. And if you waste now chasing what doesn't matter, you'll one day look back with regret. Imagine dying with your bank account full but your soul empty. Imagine realizing, too late, that you climbed the ladder of success only to find it was leaning against the wrong wall. This isn't meant to scare you. It's meant to set you free. Because once you see the lie, you can stop living it. So what's the alternative? It's simple, but not easy. Live deliberately. Choose values over validation. Choose depth over display. Choose to be rich in the things that cannot be taken from you, not just in the things that can. That's the Stoic path. That's the inner empire Marcus Aurelius ruled. Let me offer you a practice. Every morning, before checking your phone, your bank account, your to-do list, ask yourself, what would make today meaningful? Not productive, not profitable, meaningful. Let that guide your day. Let that shape your decisions. Let that be your compass. And every evening reflect, did I live today aligned with what matters most? If the answer is no, adjust. If the answer is yes, rest in peace, because you are already wealthy in the only way that counts. This is how we build a life of substance, not just success. The world will keep telling you that you need more followers, more likes, more money. But what if the real flex is needing less? What if the real power is being content? That doesn't mean complacent. It means whole. It means you're no longer chasing ghosts. Marcus Aurelius didn't write his Meditations for fame or fortune. He wrote them to remind himself of what matters. And now, across centuries, he's reminding you. You don't need to be emperor of an empire to live wisely, courageously, and freely. You just need to master yourself. So here's the final question, the deepest one. Who are you becoming in your pursuit of money? Are you becoming more peaceful, more grounded, more alive? Or are you becoming more anxious, more reactive, more numb? To be honest. Because that answer will tell you everything. The lie about money isn't just dangerous because it wastes your time. It's dangerous because it warps your soul. It distracts you from your essence. And the greatest tragedy is not dying poor in dollars, but dying poor in presence, in integrity, in love. But the good news, you can choose differently. Right now, today, you can begin the journey back to what matters. You can reclaim your mind. You can rewrite your story. Because the truth, the real truth, is that you've always been enough. And when you finally see that, money becomes what it was always meant to be, a servant, not a master, a tool, not a truth, a means, not a meaning. So go build your wealth, but let it begin within.